Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette and our series about dress codes. Today we discuss business attire, and if you're curious about other dress codes, please come back to our channel and search for it. I'm sure we got you covered. Generally, the dress code business attire is the most formal thing you will encounter in a professional office environment. Even if it's an unspoken dress code, it can often be required in traditional white-collar environments such as law firms. If you know the business attire dress code, you're always appropriately dressed for client meetings, network meetings, board meetings, or general office occasions. You can even wear it if you have to attend a funeral or if you are in court. Business attire is sometimes also called business formal or boardroom attire. Sometimes you'll also encounter traditional business as a dress code. Basically, those are all the same things. So before I elaborate about what business attire or business formal means today, let's take a brief look at the history of this dress code. As you can imagine, the history of business attire is the history of clothing worn to the office. Until a few decades ago, the only appropriate garment for the office used to be a suit, meaning a matching pair of pants and jacket out of the same fabric in a dark color. Sometimes it was a solid, sometimes it had faint stripes, but it was always a conservative suit with a white or light blue dress shirt and some form of neckwear such as a tie. At the turn of the century, business attire was really only worn by the elite, and the majority of the workers were blue-collar workers. In the very early days, a black frock coat was the proper business attire with black pants or cashmere striped pants and white shirts and dark neckwear. Later on, the morning coat became more popular, and then that was followed by the lounge suit. If you want to learn more about morning coats, stroller suits, and cashmere striped trousers, please check out our morning dress guide and our stroller guide on the website. In the 1920s and 1930s, suits, as we know them today, back then called the lounge suit, became more and more popular, and the morning coat became more outdated and was really only worn by very old gentlemen who were just stuck with their tradition. At that point in time, business suit fabrics were still quite heavy, and offices were usually cooler, which is why you would see many men wear a waistcoat, which just helped to keep them warmer. Just like with any war, the conventions afterwards were a lot more relaxed than before, and that was also reflected in the office environment. So basically that meant hats would slowly but surely disappear, the waistcoat would disappear, but you would still wear a dark suit, a necktie that was somewhat conservative, as well as black leather dress shoes. From the 1950s to the 1980s, styles changed, lapel widths changed, the width of the tie changed, but other than that, the basic core principles of dark suit, white or light blue shirt, conservative tie, and black leather dress shoes remained the same. Think of saying no brown in town, that indicated that brown shoes were never appropriate for the office. In the 80s and 90s, the power suit became popular, and you've probably seen the movie Wall Street with Michael Douglas pulling off that style, and he was styled by Alan Flusser to really reflect that style at the time. Even though the power suit fell out of favor afterwards, the core of the dress code business attire still holds true today. In a nutshell, that means you wear a dark business suit, either a two-piece suit or a three-piece suit with a waistcoat. The shirt should be white or light blue, or maybe a pastel color. It can be striped or with a very small pattern, but overall solids are preferable. You go with a conservative necktie, either in dark red or in dark blue. It can be solid or with a small pattern or stripes. So you can either go with suspenders with a fishtail back, or you can have a belt that matches the color of the shoes, or you can just go without any of those two things and just have side adjusters on your trousers. It also means you have over-the-calf dress socks that don't expose your hairy legs in the office, and optionally you can have a pocket square. The most traditional choice is a white linen pocket square, which you can find in our shop here. It should have hand-rolled edges and be folded in a TV fold. Now that's just a broad overview. Let's dive a little deeper and define what all those things mean. First of all, what is a dark business suit? In terms of colors, that can be anything from navy to dark blue, maybe a charcoal, a dark gray, medium gray, or light gray. Alternatively, today you can also have a very dark brown, which is known as charcoal brown. The most classic form are just solid suits in one color. However, you can also have smaller micro patterns such as needlehead or pinpoint. They have two colors when you look at them up close, but from afar it looks like a uniform solid color. You can also go with a more textured fabric such as shark skin or a hopsack. If you want to go a little fancier, you can have a faint pinstripe or a faint chalk stripe. You can even go with a Prince of Wales check on a smaller scale and nothing with bold colored overblades in pink. Another option would be a faint window pane, but again, less is more and is a conservative business suit, so in doubt, always scale it down a notch. In terms of styles, you can have two-piece suits or three-piece suits. If you have a two-piece suit that is single-breasted, I suggest you go with a two-button jacket. You can also go with a three-roll two, for example, or a simple single-breasted three-button jacket. Always opt for a notch lapel because that's more traditional. I'd also opt for side vents, skip center vents, because they're meant for horseback riding. The side vents are much better. You can put your hands in your pocket and it doesn't expose your bum. If you go with a double-breasted jacket, go with a 6-button configuration where 2 are closed, or maybe a 4-button configuration where 2 are closed, but avoid just a single row of buttons because that's too fashion forward for a traditional business attire dress code. For your pants or slacks or trousers, you can have a flat front, you can have a pleated front. Personally, I'm a big fan of inward pleats because it's more comfortable to sit in them. Your pants can have cuffs or no cuffs. If you go without cuffs, some consider it to be a little more formal. The advantage of cuffs or turn-ups is that they add a little more weight, which makes your trousers hang and drape nicely. Even though combinations, let's say between a blazer and a pair of chinos, are very acceptable in most offices today, it's technically not appropriate to wear a combination when a dress code requires business attire. In terms of dress shirts, ideally you want to opt for French cuffs for cufflinks, and the majority should be white and light blue. If you want a specific breakdown on what shirts to invest in, please check out this video on the first 10 dress shirts every man should own here. For cufflinks, avoid any kind of diamond cufflinks or colored stone or anything flashy. Stay with simple, traditional gold and silver cufflinks. Not combined, but either or. For selection of very classic business appropriate cufflinks, I suggest you go with knot cufflinks because they've been around for a long time. They're not flashy, yet they work with everything in your wardrobe, from your tweed coat to your black tie ensemble. With a pocket square, the white pocket square is a classic staple. You can also invest in some silk pocket squares in subtle patterns and more muted colors that pick up tones of your neckties. In terms of accessories, a necktie is probably the only way to introduce different colors into your outfit. So traditionally, most business ties are either blue or some form of red or burgundy. You can branch out, you can go with green, you can go with yellow, maybe even purple or other shades. Again, this is your chance to shine. The traditional material for ties is silk. Usually they're either printed, or it could be like a stripe, like a rep stripe, for example, or it can be just a jacquard weave in a classic muted pattern, such as a stripe in silver and black, which is the most formal, or you could have maybe a small Prince of Wales check, which is very business appropriate in either red, black and white, or just black and white or navy and white. Again, for your socks, you traditionally want to match them with your pair of pants. You can also add a little bit of contrast. For example, in this outfit here, I paired the color of my socks to the color of my tie. And in this day and age, that is acceptable. To learn more about how to combine pants with shoes and dress socks, please check out this video here and don't forget to download the free guide. The first shoe you should invest in for business attire is the black cap-toe Oxford without any form of broguing. That means no hole perforations. It's a classic staple and it always looks good. Once you have that, you can also invest in a quarter brogue Oxford. That means there's just a little bit of perforation along the cap toe or you can have a half brook where there's a little more perforation. You can also go with a full black Oxford wingtip. In my opinion, it's a little too much, and I prefer the quarter brook and the half brook, but if you want to go for it, no problem. If you have more voluminous feet, you may want to go with a derby shoe, which is technically a little less formal, but if it's in black color and has a nice leather sole, it's still perfectly acceptable. In terms of construction, most classic business shoes are either Goodyear welted, or if they're from Italy, they can be Blake rapid or Blake stitched. In general, Goodyear welted soles are a little thicker, they're a little harder to break in, but they also last for quite a long time. Italian shoes that are Blake or Blake rapid stitched typically have a thinner sole. To learn more about the differences in shoe construction, please check out our video on the difference between English, Italian, and American shoes here. While black is still the color of choice for business wear, today you can also wear brown shoes. For dress code business attire, I would suggest you stick with darker shades of brown, such as chocolate brown, and you can also go with a dark oxblood color, which can alternatively be worn with very casual outfits, but also with business attire. Even though you can wear very light tan shoes in 95% of all offices today, I would stay clear of them if the dress code calls for business attire. Now, as you can see, the dress code for business attire is rather strict, and you may find it hard to stand out in a subtle, sophisticated way. So in my experience, here are the good ways to stand out with business attire in a professional manner that isn't garish or over the top. First of all, you can start with your suit. Instead of just a plain solid suit, you can add maybe a faint stripe, such as the one I'm wearing here right now. It's kind of a grayish brown undertone with a very faint orange reddish stripe. It's different, it's unique, yet it's appropriate for business attire. I also decided to add a matching waistcoat to it, which makes it more formal and more unique. Most business suits today are two-piece suits, so adding that matching vest really elevates you from the crowd. Definitely make your accessories count. Go with cufflinks, maybe go with a slightly darker stone. For example, in this outfit, I'm wearing a red tie, so I went with silver cufflinks with a dark red carnelian stone, simply to add a bit more color to my ensemble. Brighter colors such as yellow obviously pop more than a dark navy. Alternatively, you can also play with a texture rather than, a plain silk tie. You can go with a grenadine tie because it has a wonderful texture. And for a selection of grenadine ties, please check out our shop here. In any case, you want to avoid super bright pink ties or bright orange ties because that's garish and over the top. Instead, maybe opt for a dark purple, maybe with a light paisley on it, or a bottle green tie with a micro pattern. Yes, it's different, yes, it's a color, but it's subtle, muted, and formal enough for business attire. Maybe you want to wear a pinstripe suit and add a knit tie to it. If you do that, go for a solid color that is maybe in the blue family because the texture itself is similar to grenadine, but it's a little stronger and it's already some kind of a statement. So don't go overboard and have a two-tone knit tie with your business attire. Of course, you can also choose a subtle pocket square. The white linen pocket square is great, but having maybe a silk pocket square or a silk wool one with a paisley pattern that picks up the color of your tie is a great addition. To learn more about how to combine a tie with a shirt, a jacket, and a pocket square, please check out this video here. When it comes to shoes, I think oxblood shoes are very underrated because they're very dark, yet they have a really nice color depth and they work well with navy suits, with gray suits, and they're just slightly different without being as bright as, let's say, a tan shoe, for example. So adding a pair of oxblood shoes, maybe even in corduroy, is a great way to stand out with business attire. If you enjoyed this video, you also want to watch the video on what to wear as a lawyer. There's lots of overlap, but we cover different aspects such as accessories or bags or backpacks, what to wear, what not to wear in that video here. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to this channel so stuff like this comes right to your inbox. And in today's video, I'm wearing a slightly more progressive business outfit. It's not the general solid dark business suit with a white shirt and a Glenjack tie. Instead, I opted for a faint striped suit. It's a three-piece suit. It's a relatively lightweight fabric. It has peak lapels, it has one button, and it has a double-breasted waistcoat. My tie picks up those red tones. It's a burgundy tie with a very small polka dot, which is very business appropriate. I keep the shirt white, but I opted for a rounded club collar. I'm going with French cuffs. I'm wearing cufflinks in sterling silver and a carnelian, which pick up the red tones, and my socks pick up those red and white tones of my shirt and my accessories, and they're a good barrier between my black half-brogue dress shoes. I also opted for a pinky ring and a white pocket square with a TV fold. A ground fold would have been too ostentatious. The TV fold is very classic, and this is something that I could wear to any kind of office environment, and I would always be appropriately dressed. And in most offices today, to be frank, I'd probably be somewhat overdressed, but still within the realm of what's acceptable.